My name is Nora Brown, and I am 45 years old. 5 years ago, I let a wolf into my life, and I dressed him in a husband's clothes. This morning, in a Nashville courtroom that felt as cold as a meat locker, that wolf was finally being thrown out. But not before he tried to tear my throat out and take everything I owned. The air was so thick with tension you could chew it. Across the aisle, Bradley sat, looking every bit the wounded, respectable husband. He wore his best suit, the one I paid for, and his face was a perfect mask of sad dignity. His lawyer, a man with the slicked-back hair and shiny shoes of a carnival barker, was smiling. They thought they had already won. They thought they were minutes away from carving my grandmother's legacy into pieces and feeding half of it to him. My own lawyer, a fierce woman named Patricia, who had been my rock, placed a steadying hand on my arm. "Just breathe, Nora," she whispered. "Remember the box." And I did. I remembered everything. It started at a gallery opening. I was lost. My Nana, the woman who raised me, who taught me everything about strength and grace, had just passed. She left me her beautiful old house here in Nashville and her life's savings, a nest egg she'd built from nothing. I felt untethered, a boat adrift in a stormy sea. Then came Bradley. He was a sunbeam breaking through the clouds, handsome, funny, and he listened to me in a way that made me feel like I was the only person in the world. He said he was in import-export, always on the verge of a big deal. The red flags were there, tiny ones, but I was so hungry for the light he offered that I ignored them. He moved in quickly. He quit his job just 6 months after our wedding. "Why should I work for peanuts when my brilliant wife is sitting on a gold mine?" he'd said, kissing my neck. "I want to be here to manage our life, to spoil you." His idea of spoiling me was spending my money on a boat he named The Good Life, on business trips to Monaco, on a collection of vintage watches that just gathered dust in a safe. Patricia saw it immediately. "Nora, you need a prenuptial agreement," she'd said, her voice leaving no room for argument. "This man is a vacuum cleaner with a smile. He will suck you dry." I was angry. How could she not see the love I saw? I fought her. I cried. I told her she was a cynical old bat who didn't understand true love. But something, maybe Nana's spirit whispering in my ear, made me finally agree. Getting Bradley to sign was a battle. He was devastated. He called it a love test. He said I was building a wall between us, that true partners didn't need contracts. He gave me the silent treatment for a week, a cold, punishing chill in our own home. I almost gave in. I almost called Patricia and told her to tear it up. Then, one night, he came to me with tears in his eyes. "I'm sorry," he said, pulling me close. "If this is what you need to feel secure in our love, I'll do it. I'd sign anything for you." He signed with a dramatic flourish, like he was signing away his own heart. I cried with relief, believing his surrender was the ultimate proof of his love. I was the world's greatest fool. What he didn't know, what his own lazy, arrogant lawyer never properly checked, was that the document he signed wasn't the simple one Patricia had first drafted. That one was gone. The one he signed was Patricia's masterpiece. It was ironclad and had a special hidden trigger. It was called the Voluntary Unemployment and Dissipation of Assets Clause. It stated that if my spouse voluntarily left his job without my written consent and then used marital funds, my premarital assets that had become marital, for lavish personal expenses with no benefit to the marriage, he would be considered to have wasted the assets. He would have to pay back every dime he spent before he could claim a single penny of what was left. I had forgotten about it. It sat in a safety deposit box for 5 years. A sleeping dragon. And Bradley, with his reckless spending, had practically poured gasoline on himself and danced in its cave. Back in the courtroom, Bradley's lawyer stood,
Your Honor, my client seeks an equitable 50-50 division of all marital assets. The estate and funds inherited from Mrs. Brown's grandmother have been fully commingled with marital funds. My client provided invaluable domestic support, allowing Mrs. Brown to focus on her career, and is entitled to his share. Bradley nodded, adding a sad little sigh for the judge's benefit. The judge, a woman with a no-nonsense face and tired eyes, turned to Patricia. "Counselor?" Patricia stood, calm and solid. "Your Honor, while Mr. Brown's domestic support undoubtedly involved choosing which vintage champagne to order, it does not equate to a financial contribution. Furthermore, his claim is not only frivolous, it is expressly prohibited by the prenuptial agreement both parties signed." Bradley's lawyer chuckled. It was a nasty, condescending sound. "A standard prenup, Your Honor. It protects premarital assets, but not their growth during the marriage. The growth is marital property, and my client is entitled to half." Bradley allowed himself a small, smug smile. He thought he was so clever. Patricia didn't even blink. She opened her briefcase and took out a single, crisp document. "This is not a standard agreement, Your Honor. I would direct the court's attention to Clause 7, Section B." The bailiff took the document and gave it to the judge. He gave another copy to Bradley's lawyer. I watched the lawyer's face. His smirk faded. His eyes, quick and nervous, scanned the page. His confidence began to crack, then crumble. He looked up at Bradley, his eyes wide with a silent warning. The judge read. The room was silent. Bradley's smile was gone now. "What's going on?" he whispered loudly to his lawyer. His lawyer just shook his head, his fingers stabbing at the page. The judge looked up. "Mr. Brown," she said, her voice flat, "is it true that you voluntarily resigned from your position at Global Imports 8 months after your marriage?" Bradley shifted in his seat. "Well, yes, but we agreed." "And is it true that you subsequently purchased a 42-foot sailboat for $285,000 using funds from a joint account that was primarily funded by your wife's inheritance?" His mouth opened, but no sound came out. "And multiple first-class trips to Europe, a collection of Patek Philippe watches." The judge's eyes were locked on him. "The agreement you signed, Mr. Brown, requires you to repay the marital estate for all such dissipated assets, every dollar you spent on yourself, before you can make a claim on any remaining marital property. Do you have approximately $1.2 million to repay the estate today?" The blood drained from his face so fast I thought he might faint. He looked like a man who just stepped into an elevator shaft, expecting a floor to be there. The arrogance, the charm, the fake sadness, it all evaporated, leaving pure, unadulterated shock. "This is insane," he sputtered, jumping to his feet. "That's not what I signed. She tricked me." He was pointing at me, his finger trembling, his face twisted in rage. "Your signature is on the document, Mr. Brown. Your petition is denied. You are ordered to provide a full accounting of all dissipated assets within 60 days. Judgment will be entered for the amount you owe to the marital estate, which, by my initial calculation, is everything you were hoping to take." The gavel cracked, and Bradley broke. "You!" he screamed, his voice cracking with a fury I had never heard before. The mask was not just off, it was shattered on the floor. He was raging, spitting, a wild animal caught in a snare. The bailiff moved towards him, but he was beyond control. The humiliation was total. He wasn't just losing, he was being exposed as the greedy, lazy fraud he was. He had to pay me. The irony was so beautiful it almost hurt. I stood up. I didn't say a word. I just looked at him. I let him see the woman he thought he'd fooled. I let him see the strength I'd found.